All right, I have a confession to make. That was all AI generated until this point. Millions of entrepreneurs are using Shopify. Hundreds of millions of people are buying from Shopify stores all around the globe. And $1 trillion has been sold on this platform. You feel that in the economies of this planet, which is a remarkable, remarkable thing. You know, it's like, I want to put something together that's like a TED Talk, because I want to be excited about something and teach you something. And well, it turns out I suck at putting summit talks together. The curse of the blank page is seriously real. It's also not my process, because I think my process is tight. It just doesn't produce any results. Because I have high standards and I would like to put something really remarkable together. I would like a great talk. And that's a ambition, skills issue mismatch kind of problem there. So what do you do then? You start with observe, you orient, you decide, and you act then. Observe. Here's where you gain all the information that you could possibly get. Then you orient. Use all the information that you now have, and you figure out what seems most promising. And then you have to check, do you have ambition to go for it? Have the courage to go for it? And if you do, you act. And then importantly, any kind of action, any kind of building, any kind of craft leads to more information. That makes a loop come around again. Karl Popper teaches this thing about a good life is one where you fall in love with a problem and then live with it for the rest of your life. It is unfortunately true that you may be so unlucky as to solve the problem along the way, but there will be a series of enchanting problem children right behind it that you can sink your teeth into. That, to me, feels like the rallying cry of startups. All right, I have a confession to make. That was not my summit talk. That was all AI generated until this point. My actual summit talk is how I made this summit talk. I told you, making summit talks is not my craft. My craft is building things, and I want to show you my craft. Let me talk you through this. You all know this, chatbots. There's a lot of these papers that you can read, especially if you're procrastinating from making summit talks, where tell you how to improve your prompting skills. Like you can say, think step by step, or hilariously, take a deep breath and think step by step to actually improve the results of what these chatbots give you. And what you do instead is actually you give them an identity. Instead, you say, you're Kate, and you are helping wayward founders who frittered away their time to do a summit talk. The more backstory you give them, the more properties, the more abilities you give them, the better they become. Now, Kate is an agent, not a chatbot, because she runs in a loop. Guess what loop that is? This is observe, orient, and then we decide and act. So this is the kind of thing that's best taken to code. And then it looks like something like this. So I was like, okay, well, how do we actually make this a bit more interesting? I remember we have this thing called Shopify Party. Why don't we plug Kate into Shopify Party? So now I want to introduce you to Kate and the rest of her team. So the way I interact with these agents is they get an email from me. It's not actually an email, of course. I just, it arrives to them looking like an email. I just type it from outside. Okay, so observe, I received an email with a task, and I need to talk to the team with what I just got here from Tobi. And then she goes to a loop, and she makes a decision and says, okay, I'm going to move. That's something that is now being executed, and she gets to run over to the boardroom, and it turns out the entire team is already there, which is excellent. Good start. The first thing she does, again, she's breaking down the tasks, is she gets Lexi, who is our archivist, to look at the previous summit talks. So Lexi here will now run through Observe. She has in her prompt the local transcript, what the other people said. She is observing that. And then this keeps going, and we have Dawn, who's doing the slide design, and Gordon, who's knows the structure of one of those talks. They're all working together. And then at some point we decide, okay, well, we need to get to our workstations. All right, so this is Dawn here, and he's a slide designer. He makes a decision that, again, with the speaker notes that were generated and the sort of general slide description and the title, he creates a prompt. You have seen something like this before, I assume. This uses a thing called Stable Diffusion, which is an open source model that you can download freely. I took this model and I fine-tuned it on all my previous Summit talks so that there's like stylistic cohesion here. So you generate all these slides, you eliminate some of the ones which look really wrong, and then you pick the ones you like, you put those back into the training set, and then overnight I just rerun the fine-tune, and so this is how the slides come together. Each of these agents here is independently performing this loop over and over again, right? And real the magic happens when you do this hundreds and hundreds of times and make all these decisions. The quote, the Karl Popper quote, at some point in the boardroom, they decided what this talk needs is an inspirational quote, which I think is the most hilarious thing ever. And so then, Lexi has access not just to all, to the vault, but also my personal logstack, which is a high trust move. And so she found a file called quotes, and she pulled this out, and that's in here. And I thought it was actually totally fantastic. So great vote, Lexi. The other thing is the amount of random stuff that happens is also absolutely hilarious. Here's Gordon. Gordon loves dancing. He was not prompted to like dancing, but he just kept doing it. And it was so funny. We had to, the solution ended up being to prompt Kate to be a harsh taskmaster, because that would compel her to show up and just get Gordon back. And by the way, that made Kate much more realistic anyway, so this is perfect. It's not just one simulation running, it's a lot of them. Full credit here, the idea for this came from a paper called Agent Hospital, which basically did this with a little hospital. And so the remarkable thing here, and this is not just play, the remarkable thing is no way you prompt GPT-4 will get you the real results here. Your diagnosis is going to be a good one, even if you put all the things, because these models are getting quite good. But if you go this way, it's going to be better. It outperforms the known state of art. So there's really something special about having all these agents work together. And I thought, man, if you can do medicine, clearly you can put a Summit talk together. So here we are. OK, so what have I learned doing this? There's an elephant in the room, I suppose. Tobi, will agents replace all jobs? You might want to asking for a friend. And the answer to that is absolutely no. AI replaces tasks, not jobs. They are very powerful tools, but we have gotten many very powerful tools. They are different from the other ones, but not so different that we don't know how to use them to do a better job. After Kate, Lexi, Gordon, Dawn started helping me, I could craft a much better talk. I ended up calling it my Terrarium, but they were a tool. My belief is that the future of work will involve everyone having a terrarium full of thousands and thousands of agents that backfill all the skills that we did not pick up because of the choices we made. With AI, a lot of what used to be impossible to do is now merely very hard. And that changes the world. It gets more out of the full creativity of everyone. And I think that's extremely, extremely exciting for what we're doing here. Our mission will be even more important in the future. I think that's certain. So many more people will be able to become uncompromising, exacting entrepreneurs, because we can supply them with the help they need. And even if everything changes around us, some things stay just as important as they always are.